The
Yeah.
economy is so screwed. I have to give you some backstory so that you guys will understand. Um, the economy is beyond screwed. Donald Trump's tariffs could be reined in by Congress. I don't know that they will do that. I don't know that the Republicans want to do that. But here's the situation, okay? Back in 2020, we had COVID. COVID, everything stopped. All essential services, unless you were a doctor, nurse, everything stopped. And as a result, our economy stopped and our government felt the need to react. Obviously, all governments did. If we don't react, people are going to freak out and then that's it, right? The economy's over. If nobody's going back to work, it's over. And we can't send them back to work because it could wreck the economy. So let's give them money. And so we did. We knew that we were going to have to deal with inflation, right? What is it, $6 trillion, 5 point something trillion dollars? We knew that we were going to have to deal with inflation because of that, but we're like, okay, we'll do that. We'll superheat the economy at a time where it literally cannot grow organically. We'll superheat the economy, and then we'll start raising the interest rate to slow it down until it gets to a point where we're just dealing with the inflation and the economy is back to normal. That's what we did. That worked. Okay. At that time, Joe Biden put in the American Recovery Plan. A lot of people think that that contributed to inflation. But again, it was a matter of difference. The logic was we have to give money into the economy. Otherwise, we're going to be into trouble. We're not out of it yet. And so there was a lot of discussion, decision making between economists and a lot of arguing about whether that should have went up. We know that that contributed to inflation somewhere between 2 and 4%. Donald Trump also had the OPEC Plus deal. And the OPEC Plus deal cut oil production by 10 million barrels globally for 2 years. That ended in April of 2022. The war in Ukraine started in February of 2022. February. And so oil spiked between then and just kept rising, right? Because the global oil supply got shut off from Russia. Now, we had begun lowering the interest rates recently, okay? Because stuff is starting to stall. GDP is starting to go down. The job numbers are starting to go down. This is all happening in the last 3 or 4 months. So lower the economy. Make money easier to borrow, right? It's also important to say, because most people don't know this, we weathered global inflation. There was global inflation that we weathered really well relative to other countries. Now, the Fed recently said we're going to start lowering interest rates. We're going to have what's called a soft landing, meaning that we're not going to come in and skid and crash or anything like that. We're going to have a soft landing into the economy and getting the economy back to normal. That interest rate was supposed to come down, right? Because you're trying to stimulate the economy, all that other stuff. And now Donald Trump is proposing tariffs. Those tariffs are paid, it's a charge to companies to send their stuff in, 20% across the board, 60% to China, which means that you're going to be paying at least that. That's not all, though, because if those do go into place, varying degrees to whatever, people buy less. People buy less because they don't have the money. So now instead of a company charging you, oh, we have a 20% tariff. Okay, well, we got to charge 20% for the tariff, 10% because we don't trust Trump. And now we're going to charge however X amount to cover our overhead, right?
It doesn't take into account retaliatory tariffs either.
No, it doesn't. And now we're coming into a point where Donald Trump's tariffs are scaring businesses because for the last year, major multinational corporations have been preparing themselves for the economy and the potentiality of a recession. Normal companies, which is most of America, didn't have that ability. So now they're going to start raising prices. They're going to start raising prices in anticipation that not only their products that they're creating are going to be affected, but the products that they're buying are going to be affected. This is not going to cause jobs to come back to the United States. This is only going to cause jobs to be moved elsewhere around the globe. And then there's the retaliatory tariffs. We are going to watch in the coming weeks as people are laid off, as their Christmas bonuses are gone, as prices come up. We're going to watch this happen over the next few months because of the anticipation of Donald Trump's tariffs. Not very many people are talking about the full economic impact because we don't know. The problem is though is that we can't raise the interest rate, and we can't raise the interest rate because it'll slow the economy, will stagnate. Think of just a jet stalling in plane. And we can't lower it because we're going to be experiencing more inflation. So what do? And now, who knows? Are we just going to go back to like levels like in 2021? Is that going to be the inflation that we're going to be facing? Is it going to be higher? I've seen some economists say that this is approaching hyperinflation territory. So
It's true.
nobody knew this. Nobody knew this. Everybody's just like, Biden caused inflation. No, he didn't. We injected a bunch of money. And just to clarify, putting money into the economy is not always inflationary. In fact, when it goes to infrastructure, there's not a lot of good evidence that there's much inflation attributed to that at all. The reason that we had inflation from that is because our economy couldn't organically grow from the money that we stimulated, right? Like, that's the problem. Obviously, if you hand out money to people, sure, that's inflationary. But if you like inject it through, I just want to make that differentiation, because a lot of people are like, well, that means we should cut government funding of projects. No, that's actually good for the economy. Handing out a ton of money to people so that the prices of good goes up, yes, that's very much inflationary. But insofar as like jobs programs, whatever that degree, no. So, but now we're in a predicament anyway that Donald Trump is heading us for a financial meltdown, and I can't help but laugh about it. I don't know why. It's just like it's so unbelievably messed up that it's really the only way I can get through it these days, you know?
Oh yeah, it's almost like it was completely avoidable or something.
Yeah, it's almost like you just had to vote for
Isn't that
Harris.
funny? You just have to laugh. I know.
It's just like, oh, well, shit, all right. Listen, some people,
Here
when
you
the
go.
meteor is coming towards Earth, they scream, right? Some people cry. Is there like a plane hits turbulence and it drops? There's always the person off in the distance that screams for some unknown reason, just the gaudy scream. And then there's a person, and then there's me just like, okay, that was good. you know? It's the stages of grief for the economy. It's really where we're at here.
Oh well.
Anyway, so we have
Hard to
that
tell
to
you.
look forward to. We have that to look forward to.